late, and we're on a 4-day festival. I've drawn on Westpool, as you've seen, peg 10, and this is the first of 4 lakes I have to fish, or 3 lakes I should say. There's Westpool, then I go on to Hawthorns, which is another snake lake, and then you've got the main lake, which is you've got a near side and a far side, and that's the 2 sort of sections. So we had the furthest sort of walk on the complex this time, lake-wise, which is Westpool, and then tomorrow we'll be on the shortest walk to Hawthorns. So started across as always with these snake lakes. You know, the fish do tend to push across. It's nice and shallow over there. It's really warm, although it looks cloudy and a bit windy. You know, it's sort of 20 degrees. Very low wind, as you can see. Started with our ever faithful 4mm pellets, 4mm coppins, grey hydro, etc., and we've managed a carp nice and early across. Everybody has told me they've been a bit of a nightmare on this lake, and it's gone very difficult again. Both snake lakes, in fact, but I always think that I can sort of sort it across, and generally, to a degree, I can. But I must admit, when I seen I drew peg 10, my head went down a little bit, because I've had this peg a couple of times before and I can never sort it across. Now why that should be, I honestly can't say, because I've had a good plumb around. It don't seem no different than anywhere else on the lake, really. It is a long reach though, as you can see. It's a full 16 metres. So it's always a little bit of hard work, this peg. But so we've gone to micros now. Potted in a few micros. We potted in some 4s, as you've seen. We had a carp, and then nothing afterwards. We just got the usual. All of a sudden, carp up on, you know, just under the surface. You know, going around your float and all the rest of it. So I've gone the micros and just a little skimmer. Now you can push across with a shallow float and push it into the bank and all the rest of it, but it don't seem to work. You know, you might catch one and then they're just gone again. It's not consistent. Nothing's consistent on here actually at the moment across with pellets. So some of the locals are fishing little 7-foot rods and chucking little mini feeders across, little tiny method feeders. And a chap 3 pegs to my left, Paul, he's chucked it across at the start and he's catching quite well on it. I did hear there catch 1 or 2 and then it sort of slows, but he's doing very well on it at the moment. I must admit, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and I have thought about this match since, and I have wondered about whether I should have fished a jigger. Now, generally, that is for F1s, isn't it, really? We associate jigger fishing more with F1s than carp, to be honest, but I do feel a jigger across there, dripping a few pellets in with a pot, and then just lowering that jigger down, pulling it back up, lowering a few more in. I think I'd have caught more fish. I don't think I'd have sort of opened the floodgates and bagged up across there, but I do think I would have caught a few more fish than I have. So we're well behind at the moment. Not ideal. First day of the festival. No one wants to be last, do they? Who wants to be last on the first day of a festival, you know? But I'm not far off last in section at the moment. And a couple of hours ago, 4 hours, and we got 3 carp and a few skimmers, so not an ideal start. So we're just going to go on our meat line now. We've been dripping meat in there, not for long. I don't tend to drip meat on a meat line all the way through the day like people say. I tend to put a little bit of meat in there 10 minutes before I want to go on it. I'll generally cup it in with a big cup, just put in sort of 10, 12 cubes, and then as you've seen then, chuck 2 or 3. Again, we're just looking to see if there's 1 or 2 in the area willing to feed. And we've had to wait on this bite quite a while. I sat there for a good 10 minutes, I reckon, but I got fed up holding 16 metres for nothing, so I thought I'd hold this instead. And then not give themselves away at all, really. There wasn't any blows or bubbles, you know. No coloration of the water, but we've got one. I fed the edge as well just before I went on this, as you've probably seen. Just feel we got to catch well now on this meat liner down the edge to stand any chance of decent points. So the meat is 8mm cubes, fishing 016 hook length, 16 B911 hook, our usual fare, isn't it? And Dave Wilmot's green elastic, or hybrid elastic, I think they call it, just simply hybrid elastic, that's it. Not a great sign, little skimmer. We did have a few little skimmers, we had one decent one as well, sort of a couple of £1, but yeah, the carp were few and far between, to be honest. Chucked a few cubes in then, as you've seen. Always feed straight after you've hooked one. If you can, it's better to hold the post still, let the fish run off and sort of hold it where you hooked it, so as you got the end of the pole as a marker. But if not, quite often in conditions like this, when you've struck up into the fish, you can see the sort of the ripple on the water, or the circle where the float sort of rushed out from. So it's still quite a good marker. If you get that meat out there quick enough, you can see a marker on the water. But apart from feeding them after we hooked them, we are chucking a few bits every sort of 3 or 4 minutes now, because I'm trying to draw fish now, because I just don't feel there's any there, and I'm willing to feed on that deeper line anyway. So there you go, we got our third carp. I've had our 3 carp now. I've had 2 sort of sensible ones. I believe this one's a little bit smaller. And a few little skimmers in between. And we've had to wait a long time for the bites. And then after this one, I go and wait on it a little bit longer, again, hoping for another one. Doesn't really happen. So we're off down the edge. It was actually only an hour to go now. And we hooked one. And we weren't in there very long. We were in there a couple of minutes, and I've hooked one. And I'm sort of, I must admit, I'm sort of kicking myself, because after we fed it down that edge, we did sort of try it 5-10 minutes afterwards. Never happened. Not seen a sign down there, and I sort of feel like I should have been on that line 20 minutes earlier than what I have gone on there now, with how quickly that's gone. Let's just hope they keep coming. So it's 018 down the edge, size 2, 175 Tubertini hook as well. Okay, so we're just concentrating on our left hand side because to my right there's a coot's nest. I did. The reeds have all been cut, and it's quite obvious where she was, where she'd been sat, and it's just in the reeds, sort of about 3 meters to my right. And I did quickly put my hands on the eggs, and they were warm, so I sort of backed off, sat back on me box, and she's sat back on there now. You can see her sort of little head sat up amongst the reeds, but if I went to go to me right, I'll spook her, so I didn't want to do that. So it's all focused on the left, but it seems to be going all right, doesn't it? We're doing our usual, cab potting a bit of Tom Fix ground bait, 50-50 with micros and Tom Fix. And then what we've done is put in some dead maggots and some corn as well, and then a little bit of meat. I put 2 or 3 8mm cubes of meat in the bottom of the cad pot first, and then I sort of fill it with the rest with the ground bait. The reason I put the corn in is always there as a change bait, but I do like my meat. I got a lot of confidence in meat. The reason I put the corn in really is, I forgot to mention this as well in a previous video at Acorn Fishery when I was fishing down the edge, so apologies everybody. But the reason I put the corn in is because it's a heavy bait. Now, apart from nailing the fish and getting them down on the bottom, the thing is with a heavy bait like corn is it makes the carp suck harder. So what happens is when that carp comes in the feed, if you just put maggots in micros, they can just pick those up without working too hard. But if they start sucking in corn, which is that bit heavier, they'll have to suck that bit harder. Now the carp doesn't differentiate between a piece of corn and maggots, etc. So once it starts sucking it that sort of strength, if you like, it will then do the same with the maggots and everything else. And I want to get on the maggots quick as I can down the edge because that's really the way to go. The only reason I'm on meat early down the edge was because in between those carp there was a lot of silvers. So when I started down there first of all and dropped in on maggots, I had like the obligatory perch, roach, rudd, etc. And every time you hook one, you'd see a swirl because you'd be spooking a carp. I'd catch carp in between as well, but I wanted to sit it in there and just wait for a positive carp bite. So that's what I did. And we caught on 8mm meat, and we're cab potting right where we're fishing, right in tight to the reeds, lowering that bait down on top of the cab pot, and they're coming up and just sucking the whole thing in one hit. But now, as I say, we're looking to switch to maggots because it is solid. That is pretty solid down there now. We're rapidly running out of time towards the end of the match, though. So we're really clawing our way back up the section now. I do feel we've come up off a bottom of section. We have overtook a couple, but to my left now, Paul's still catching well on that Meffer feeder, and I got Dan White, very good angler, up on the MPEG on 15, and he's been catching well as well. So I'm looking to try and catch up with those two, really. I mean, the way it started, I'd probably take third, but first or second would be better. Yeah, although everybody else is catching as well down the edge now, I don't feel anybody's catching as fast as me. I just wish we were fishing on for another half an hour, or I got down that edge that 20 minutes earlier than what I had. I'm quite sure I'd have won the section here. But we've got a bit of room around us, mine, but everybody has. It's been pegged really, really well. I'm sure we're going to get some good sport throughout the week. I'm looking forward to it. The forecast looks pretty good. I think we're going to get a bit of drizzle later on in the week, but otherwise it's pretty good. It's another good fish from down the margin. They're a lot bigger than what they were across, aren't they? It's strange, isn't it, that time of day? Those slightly better fish, they all want to feed this time of day, don't they? Whereas those ones across, you're just sort of picking at the bones, really, aren't you? Just sort of catching what you can tempt early. But once they switch on, don't they ever switch on? So that's a nice weight builder, isn't it? That's about £10, that one. So back to that cab pot loading. So 3-4 cubes in the bottom of the pot, and then again we got that 3-pint bait tub on our bait tray, and in there we've got sort of 50-50 micros and ground bait, then nice big handful of corn all mixed in, big handful of dead red maggots as well, all mixed in. And we're on the maggots on the hook now as well. We're putting 5 red maggots on, and they're absolutely nailing that. Lifting and dropping the bait inside as well quite a bit. That didn't take very long, did it? I mean, that's real time there. Shipping in, feeding, and hooking one. It's not taking very long at all, is it? Lovely fishing, to be honest. Really nice. Don't know how it's going to fish this week. You know, it's one of those, isn't it? When you put pressure on the water for several days on the trot, will the fish get a bit harder to catch, or will the introduction of bait throughout the days make it so as it fishes better? I think the main lake could fish better because those there were some really big fish on there, and I think sometimes they want a lot of bait to sort of turn them on. It's a bit like those specimen fish, isn't it? You know, the snakes have been apparently fishing hard. Not fishing too bad today now, but they have apparently been fishing hard. So whether they'll get harder in the week or better is to be seen. So we're really getting close to the end of the match now. I'm trying to catch all I can, getting there as quick as I can. Really, I've had a few silvers, but I got two nets now that are quickly approaching quite full of carp, all different sizes as you can see. So you can see there, look, just lifting, then dropping the maggots down, and bang, one has it. You don't have to lift it up miles either. You don't have to lift all the float out the water, just the body of the float out the water, then lower it down. And it gives you good sort of practice into just lifting into them fish as well. You want to be striking as a little lift, just the same as lifting that float out. So as I say, nearly the end of the match. So let's see where we end up, everybody. Thanks for joining me, and do join me for day 2. Speak soon.